Here's a question I see a lot. People see lewd ads for Nikke. They see the art style, and there's no question in their minds what's being marketed to them. But then they see the popularity of Nikke, or just the fact that it doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and they start to wonder, is Nikke just about TNA? Or is it any good? Yes! Goddess of Victory Nikke is a gacha game from video game company Shift Up. Nikke takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where a mechanical race of enemies called raptors have taken over the surface, and humanity is forced to live underground in a structure called the Ark. Humanity's only defense are Nikkes, cyborgs programmed and trained to defend humanity. For reasons, these cyborgs are all women. The player navigates the world as the commander, who is basically a general and a central figure in humanity's effort to retake the surface. For those unaware, gacha games are free-to-play games that make their money by inviting or encouraging players to spend money on microtransactions. Gacha games get their name from Japanese GACHAPON machines. A GACHAPON machine is a coin-operated device that holds collectible toys from a set. Put in a coin, get a toy. Which toy you get is random, so collecting a full set through GACHAPON machines is potentially quite difficult. Gacha games operate on a similar structure. Players don't have to spend money, but they can, and frequently do, buy in-game currency, which they can then use to try to get various game characters or items. Each gacha game features a rotating series of options that allow players a greater chance of getting the character or item they want. But like the GACHAPON machines, there is an element of randomness in what you get. And while there's no denying the risk-reward appeal of this kind of gaming,
Go give me the naked woman! A lot of mileage out of it. Yes!
I think there's something broader about gacha games that appeals to its fans. The meta. Each gacha game has an entire structure surrounding the best characters or units in the game, frequently called the meta. The meta represents the best possible units in the game at the time. Every gacha game has these meta units that are so good that not using them at best feels unnecessary, and at worst, feels wrong. Meta units are seldom available to a player at the beginning of a gacha game. Meta units are carrots new players must chase for days, weeks, months, or years. But it's not just the meta units themselves that are appealing. There is the question of, why are the meta units meta? This is partly gameplay, but it's also everything underneath how gameplay works. How damage is calculated, what algorithm is used for damage, and everything underneath that. Whether it's what elements are good against others, what items or equipment are required, what support units are good, or where the best place is to farm materials. How attractive a gacha game looks to players is just as important as how attractive these meta carrots are. I've gotten invested in gacha games that aren't very good because their meta carrots were so damn appealing. And the complexity of the meta also has its own appeal. Attracting a gamer with a carrot, then making them ask questions about the carrot, I believe, is inherently appealing in gacha games. Nobody wants to read. They want to go to the game's Discord or Reddit, take a picture of their units and say, "Make me good team, please." But everything about engaging with a gacha game in a long-term capacity requires its players to learn about the meta. Whether the players want to or not, they learn what makes meta characters good, or forces players to habitually participate in systems that tell players what units are good. And this work creates an investment between the game and the player. You spent all this time figuring out the ever-evolving meta that it's hard to pull away from the game because now you're involved in more layers of it. And I love Nikke's layers. I've never been a huge shooter fan, but combining shooter elements with gacha game boss mechanics is a novel approach I enjoy. There's also this mini-game where players get to slowly build their own little outpost, advancing in the campaign, getting blueprints to build more buildings, and getting more rewards as you build. And I love the dating sim aspect of the game, where you get to talk to a Nikke every day and get 2 dialogue options. These questions prove how well you know your Nikke and her personality. If you answer the questions right, your Nikke gets stronger, and if you answer wrong, you get less strong. Also, some of the wrong answers are hilarious. And I love all the events that come to the game, adding not only their own minigames, but their own stories that flesh out the game's characters and world as well. If you're new to gacha games, all this information is helpful, but if you're already a fan of gacha games, here's what you need to know. Nikke is an idle gacha game. While there's no agreed upon definition of idle gacha games, A core mechanic of all idle games is that you get stronger over time due to free resources. But the subsequent result is, you can't get as strong as you want in an idle game as fast as you want. So in Nikke, there are long periods of the game where you simply aren't strong enough to beat certain content. And there's an imposed limit in the game, called the level 160 wall, where you must, through luck, obtain 4 copies of 5 Nikke, or no Nikke can pass level 160 at all. For me, the added benefit of idle games is that you aren't committed to long daily play sessions. If you don't get too invested in characters or story, you can complete daily tasks in about 10 or 20 minutes. If you read all the story and dialogue, and there are a lot of events going on, it could take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. But the thing that Nikke has that few other gacha games do, idle or otherwise, is good writing. Whether it's in part a byproduct of the dating sim aspect, or part of ShiftUp's philosophy for the game, the characters and their dialogue feels authentic. I once messaged my friend who also plays Nikke and asked, is it bad that I feel like some of the conversations I've had with the Nikke mirror conversations I've had with women in real life? With so many other gacha games I've played, the writing and characters feel hollow. Even Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, which has a story mode that follows the show beat for beat, somehow feels like a cheap imitation of the show's dialogue and characters. With Nikke I laugh, I'm invested, I tear up. And I know, it's a cliche to play a lewd game for the story. But the truth is, I'm not just playing it for the story. I admit, the lewdness is part of why I play Nikke. The lewdness is part of why you're here right now. I once told a fellow Nikke player who was sharing they thought the commander was hot, that most Nikke players are low or high-key thirsting for something in the game. We are all well aware of the lewd marketing Nikke is pounding us with. Pounding, do I really want to say pounding? Maybe I should, I'm going to take that out. The burst animations, the costumes, the poses, the character design, and story elements. The lewdness is so brazen. Players are very aware what Nikke is, and so is ShiftUp. This self-awareness is often played for laughs. There are frequent references to the commander's hidden magazine collection. The Nikkes sometimes make references to the commander being overly lascivious, often in a way that they're making fun of him, as if there's a joke that everyone is in on, like ShiftUp is saying, come on, we know why you're here, let's be honest and joke about it. But there's something subversive about Nikke's lewd marketing. The lewdness is just a way to get people into the game.
That's just the entertainment, that's like the sexy bacon.
Even though ShiftUp is using the sexy bacon to get people to play their game, there's a pervasive, constant attempt by ShiftUp to generate empathy in its players. From the moment you're on the battlefield and you, the commander, raise your gun to execute a Nikke, the game tries again and again and again to generate empathy from its players. In this respect, Nikke is an empathy engine. In the world of the game, the true essence of each Nikke is in the brains and minds of the women they once were. Their bodies are simply parts that can be replaced. Despite this, even a Nikke's mind can be somewhat controlled and even erased. But you, the commander, are actively fighting for Nikke to gain control over their minds and lives. In a world where people tend to treat Nikke as disposable objects, the commander treats them as peers and friends. And with almost every Nikke you acquire, and almost every event, the Nikke have problems that the commander helps them solve. So many Nikke present themselves as being vulnerable, and the commander, without fail, tries to raise her up. I'm not sure if ShiftUp has simply calculated that gacha game players are more likely to spend money on their waifus if the emotions they feel towards them are more complex than lust, or if ShiftUp calculated that greater empathy pushes players into making gacha gaming a habit, or if the everyone loves the commander theme is simply a mirroring of the harem genre in anime. But I believe Nikke has succeeded in gaining many players' empathy. Several Nikke players seem to both objectify their Nikke and on some level recognize them as virtual individuals and care about them. In her video, a mostly feminist analysis of Stellar Blade, Liana K says that you could play Stellar Blade for Eve's and miss the game's subversive message. And I believe the same is true of Nikke. You could play the entire game for the fan service, buy the gacha costumes that dare to reveal the Nikke's panties, Ogle at the Nikke's burst animations, do your dailies, and end your experience there. But Shift Up and Nikke are constantly trying to force you to look beyond that. The world of Nikke believes that everyone, whether you're a dangerous killer, a feral criminal, or a naive girl that simply wants you to hold her hand, everyone deserves your empathy. That each Nikke is more than their sexy bacon exterior. That each Nikke and the game they're from is good.
Okay, just promise you won't get mad. If you say so. Okay, I can do this. I can do this! Hey! You worthless piece of garbage!